Hello and welcome to the latest GameForge painting competition judging video. Nick was gracious enough to include me in this special event for GameForge, and I was asked to judge this competition. This event is special because there was a theme for this occasion, and I thought it was really fantastic as it allows those of you out there with a bit more experience to flex a bit more muscle, and those with less experience to really challenge themselves. What I find really amazing is how many ways the directive was taken, and how everyone ran with this theme. It is interesting how we can all hear the same thing, yet interpret it differently. The theme for this event was unexpected color, and I'm really impressed with what all of you created. This theme was wide open to interpretation, and yet you all did not disappoint. I may have to borrow this idea in the future. Things like this are a great way to get you as the artist to think outside the box, as it were. Okay, enough from me. Let's get to the entries. I'll be reviewing the entries as they were submitted to me for judging, so the order will be all over the place. The first entry we'll look at is titled Purple Night. The first thing I will say is I really like the style in which this piece was painted. This entry was done in a grayscale with a touch of color. It has the same vibe as one of my favorite movies, Sin City. The painting of the main figure is really well done, as the emphasis on showcasing all the varying gray tones is done well. The attention to all the sculpted details is very well done as well. There is a good deal of details as well as smooth surfaces that the eye can get lost if the painting is not executed well. A few things that can take a person out of the viewing experience is the treatment of the tree foliage. I'm not sure if that is intentional or simply oversight as the color was being built up. The spots of red are unexpected. Having a closer look at this wonderful piece, I see that the non-metallic metal treatment on the sword, but it looks as though it's only on one side of the sword. That is a little disappointing. The addition of the tree element of this composition is put to good use, but I think it might have been better served in framing the figure more rather than this big presence. I think making it look a little more like a bonsai tree with a little less foliage would have stayed within the theme, as it were. Overall, really great entry and very ambitious. I really liked this piece. The next entry we are going to look at is titled Barbarian. Right away, I really like what is happening in this entry. Immediately, the eye is drawn into the central figure and invited to move about the rest of the piece, which almost could be a mini diorama. I do really enjoy the use of color in this entry, as it isn't often that you see corn warriors in this color palette. Is it unexpected? I like that the decapitated head is the Joker for some reason, but I like it. The choice of shading color for the flesh is a good one, as I like the tones it creates rather than using traditional means of painting those shadows. I particularly enjoy the base, as there are a lot to take in as far as the color and texture on the base. The stones have a varied color palette and feels natural despite the bright colors used on the main figure. Now for the nitpicky stuff. I'm not sure I'm entirely on board with the treatment of the axe. It definitely draws the eye into the main figure with the help of the use of heavy orange used for the rust effect. I'm not sure blue had to be the color of choice. I think a magenta of some variation might have better work here, as the blue makes the piece feel busy with all these colors at play. Even if there was less of that blue, it may have worked a bit better. Overall, a solid entry, and the artist that painted this should be very pleased with their effort. I really like this piece. Let's have a look at our next entry, which is titled Ruin Seeker. Immediately, I will say this is a truly wonderful piece. There are so many things to like when viewing this entry. I like the use of color, the work on the non-metallic metal on the armor and other areas. The main element of this entry that I really enjoy is the freehand work on the checker pattern, as well as the filigree work on the back of the cloak. I really enjoy the contrast of the painting on the main figure, as it works well with being consistent with the non-metallic metal areas of the model. Now with the face, I would like to have seen more attention paid to rendering the face in more detail and match the level of contrast with the rest of the figure. Always remember that the face is the center of attention on any model. The human eye is naturally drawn to it. I would also have liked to see the red of the cloak highlighted to a similar level as the blue elements of the rest of the figure. The last little nitpicky thing I will talk about is the base. I wish the base had the same level of contrast as the main figure. I realize it is meant to frame the model, but I feel like the artist was running out of time and didn't give the base the same amount of love as the main sculpt. Overall, a fantastic entry, and the painter has displayed a tremendous amount of skill with this entry. Very well done. Our next entry looks like a fun one named Volcanic Frog, which is a pretty good name. First thing I will talk about is the use of bright color in this model, and it is easy to see the entry sticks out on its own theme, that being of lava and volcanic environment. I am instantly brought right into this model with the treatment of the red crystal rock in the troll's hand. I like the effect of highlighting I see on the rocks as well as the rest of the figure. I like that the paint is applied cleanly and carefully. I can see slight gradients of color in the flesh and cloth. I really like that we have two-tone thing going on with the belly skin of the troll. The use of the crackle paint for the base is really good, and I like the variation of color one can see in between the cracks, conveying the sense of lava. 3 things I will say to this painter is this. Take your time with your miniature, especially if you want to continue entering painting competitions. That means take care of those mold lines. Don't overprime your model, as that can lead to a chalky surface on the mini, and that leads to all kinds of issues down the road. Finally, whenever possible, use a painting handle to hold the miniature as you work. That is so you don't end up touching the model and rubbing paint off. Overall, this is a really solid entry, and this artist should be very proud of their work. Keep painting and learning, and you'll be a master in no time. Let's have a look at our next entry, the Backstabbin' Gits. The first thing I'll say is this entry is a lot of fun and could almost be a mini diorama. I enjoy the use of color in this entry and the comical nature of it. As one might expect from a bunch of backstabbing gobos, I really like the splatter blood coming from the lead gobbo, and the way it works with the rest of the piece fits very well within the narrative being told. It is a strange thing to kind of laugh at this poor little git getting stabbed in the back with all the gore splashing about. Yet I smile at it. I do like the painting I see here, as it is clean, and I really enjoy how the moon icon is painted. Really helps to draw focus into the piece. 2 things I will mention with this piece is to be cautious of using too many colors in the entry. The other is, think of the base of the model, not just space that a model occupies, but more like a frame around the picture that hangs on the wall. I realize that it is a small entry, and painting such small details can be a challenge, and to that point I will say to all of you out there, take your time. A solid effort from this artist, and I like that it tells a story, albeit a short story. Good job on this entry. Next up is a very interesting piece, a rock gut Troggoth for our consideration. I really like what I'm seeing with this entry. I like the use of color in this piece and how the colors of the crystal on the base are echoed in the model itself. Very good. I really like the level of attention to detail I see on this figure, as it would appear that every millimeter was painted and rendered to a good standard. I like when viewing this piece that I can see that this painter has a good understanding of miniature painting, meaning I see various painting technique being used, effective dry brushing and layering of color to create transitions on the details. Now the nitpicky stuff. I wish the artist had spent a bit more time cleaning mold lines and gaps in this figure. I also would like to have seen more care in blending the crystal rock to the base, as it feels a bit slapped on. When considered as part of the greater whole, it really is a minor thing. A really great entry from this painter, as I'm sure this person will really be a great mini painter down the line, probably sooner than some of us might think. Excellent job. Our next entry is a converted Plague Marine model. Right away, we are treated to a wonderful interpretation of the Plague Marine. The various elements that are incorporated into this model are done with a lot of skill. If I had not read the note attached to this entry, I would have believed this is how the model shipped. It is unexpected the color in which this model is painted, and it is a fantastic take on the theme of the army as we typically see it. I like when people think outside the norm and find inspiration in different things. The painting on this model is well done, as it is clean for a Nurgle model. I do like the addition of texture created with the brush stroke, but in some places it feels unintentional. One of the first things I caution painters looking to improve their painting is to stop relying on shade washes and such to achieve their shadow values. I mention this as the slight glossy appearance is a little distracting when viewing this piece, of which I'm sure it isn't an issue when viewing this in person. A very strong entry from this artist, and I'm sure when the painting matches the conversion skills, this person will be a real contender in future competition. Excellent job with this piece. Next, let's have a look at a Gray Seer model. This entry has a lot of things going on that I really like, and I'm sure I could go on and on about this piece. Firstly, I will talk about the use of color palette on this entry. I really enjoy this. The use of red in the shadows is well done and might be considered unexpected. Using the red value to create the shadow is a refreshing take as it plays in the realm of being contrast without actually pushing contrast, often referred to as being high key, but this entry isn't totally in the camp, so to speak. The attention to detail is wonderful and offers the viewer a fantastic journey as they take in all the work done in the non-metallic metal and details like the orb or eyes of the rats. The horns are a real treat as the choice to paint the horns in a sky earth non-metallic metal is really interesting choice. I like that. It is very well done. The additional texture created on the fur and cloth areas is really well done as well. The nitpicky part of this is something I'm sure the artist already knows. Some of the transitions on the cloth tendrils are a little rough, and I would like to have seen the highlights pushed a bit further on the non-metallic metal areas. Overall, a wonderful entry in this competition, and I really look forward to seeing more from this artist in the future. Superb effort. Our last entry we'll look at is the Scaremonger. With this entry, we see a similar use of color in the shadows. Is it unexpected? I like the treatment of the mask on the top of the figure as it has a slight non-metallic metal vibe going on, and I like how it echoes the color used on the actual base. The use of the red in the shadows is really fun on the top figure, but it feels a little inconsistent with the bottom figure. Speaking of the bottom figure, the work on the bone elements is really fantastic as it feels like it's catching the light from the base itself. I also really like the orange tone on the shadows of the bottom grot as it again feels like the reflected light from the orange of the base. Unfortunately, this piece feels like the artist ran out of time as some of the details don't feel like they got enough attention, such as the bells and other areas. Again, I would like to have seen a finer highlight in some of the areas and a little bit better separation of details between characters like the boot of the top grot where it meets the bottom grot skull thingy. These last two entries display a wonderful sense of color choice and I really look forward to more. Fantastic painting I'm seeing here. So that is the end of looking at the entries, and I have been asked by Nick to pick two prize winners for this event. One for best overall and one for who had the best interpretation of the theme for this event. Which entry had the best interpretation of the theme for this event? Which entry was unexpected color? The Barbarian from John. The splash of color in amongst the more natural values of the base and such is really fun. Yeah, it is a little bit literal, but using the magenta color for the hair and the decapitated head painting as though it was the Joker is just too much fun. This entry demonstrates good fundamentals in miniature painting as all entries did. This was a tough one to call a winner for as there was so many directions this directive can be taken. Now to all of you that entered this event, I think Nick had a really great idea for the theme of this competition and you all should be very proud of your effort. I wholeheartedly support this idea of having themes in these kinds of events as it challenges the artist and forces you all to think of more variables other than technique, color choice, etc. I also like this as it can put many of you on equal footing, as it were. What do I mean by this? A more experienced painter may take things in a direction that wasn't part of the brief, as a less experienced painter may go in unexpected directions. These are the things that make good art. Enough gum flapping from me. Who is our overall winner? It is Evan H. with his Gray Seer. This entry is just beautiful and executed so well. How it fit within the theme of this event was unexpected. The treatment of the horns of the model being painted in a sky earth non-metallic metal was really special and unexpected. Evan had 2 entries in this event, and I feel that if he had spent more time refining this entry, who knows what we might have seen. For his use of color to the technique he displayed are on par with so many great painters out there. Congratulations, Evan. This was a wonderful bit of miniature painting, and you earned this win. I want to thank Nick and all of you who participated in GameForge painting event and allowed me the honor of picking your winners. For all of you who took part in this event, I want to say that if you didn't win, don't see this as a failure. It is simply a stepping stone to future success. Keep painting, keep learning, and keep the passion for this in your heart. If you really love this, there is no failure. Again, a huge thank you to Nick at GameForge and to all of you for this. Take care of your brushes, and they will take care of you.